Hello and welcome to the News at 10, broadcast live here on the network service of the NTA. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak.
And I am Chiwobi Walter, and many thanks for joining us on the news this hour. Here's the headlines.
Education, we have a lot of work to do in organizing the universities and making them credible by putting proper infrastructure and getting qualified staff.
Presidency declares more provision of infrastructure in the nation's cyber towers.
Western Nigeria Security Network, Operation Ametoku, inaugurated in Ibadan, Oyo State.
Kubem attack, Plateau State Governor visits community, advances against reprisals.
Plus, federal government directs National Broadcasting Commission to begin implementation of committee's report immediately on industry reform.
For joining us. Let's get started with education. And the federal government says henceforth education will be accorded top priority, especially through the provision of infrastructure as well as capacity building in the nation's universities.
And President Muhammadu Buhari, who made this known while receiving the leadership of Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, said effective and efficient operations of universities will go a long way towards producing quality graduates for nation building and enhancing the nation's economy, especially with focus on science and technology. State House correspondent Adamu Samu reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari was emphatic that the future of the Nigerian nation depends largely on the quality of education, and therefore certificates from those intellectual ivory towers must be credible to inspire confidence. He urged members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities to assist the federal government in realizing the desired objectives.
The Minister of Education, we have a lot of work to do in organizing the universities and making them credible by putting proper infrastructure and getting qualified staff. We will make sure of the standards and the resources to be made available to so that our qualifications are credible, not only in Nigeria but all over the world.
The president, however, made a strong case for the university lecturers to comply with the ongoing verification and validation of human resources in the universities towards guaranteeing optimum output.
We have to have a high-powered inquiry using the Constitution and see how much the universities should be allowed in terms of management of resources and the personnel.
Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed explained that out of the 137,016 academic and non-academic staff members of the universities, over 90,000 have been enrolled in the Integrated Payment and Personnel Information System, urging ASU to encourage the remaining 40,000 to comply with the process. She said many anomalies were discovered in the university structure that have contributed to the high cost burden. These include staff working and earning pay in more than one university, contract staff on payroll of the government, tax reductions on payee, and multiple employments. The minister disclosed that some universities had rushed to recruit more staff before the IPPIS registration commenced, which was, however, detected.
Our view, Your Excellency, is that while it is clear that ASU has peculiarities, that those peculiarities should be clearly recognized and special provisions made for them, rather than having those special peculiarities put and carried on the payroll. Bringing the universities on the payroll will not erode their independence or autonomy. It will only help government to manage the very scarce resources that we're having to deal with at this time.
You might not be aware that the total combination of personnel costs and overheads accounts for over 70% of our national budget. We have a lot to do to ensure that the cost-saving measure is put in place so that we can release these funds to deploy them to education, to infrastructure, to provision of power, and all other things that will make life more meaningful for our people.
I want to thank you people that after our February meeting, there was nothing like industrial unrest. You understood that we were passing through dire straits. So in the same spirit, we can marry youths with IPs because they're all saying the same thing.
Emergency in education, sir, it is high time this government declared it.
The president of ASU, Professor Biodun Agunyemi, said the implementation of agreements between ASU and federal government over the years will go a long way in improving the quality of education in the universities.
Nigerian universities can make meaningful contributions to addressing the challenges of the country, e.g., economy, security, and corruption, if given the opportunities.
The ASU president, however, described IPPIS as a disruptive intrusion which not only violates the laws of the Federation and university statutes, but also agreements between the federal government and ASU. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And in another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has declared that the adoption of information and communications technology in public service delivery in the country is no longer a luxury but a pressing necessity.
State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president stated this while granting audience to the executive members of the various information technology professional groups in Nigeria on a visit.
Information technology is the driving force for social and economic change.
The future, President Muhammadu Buhari emphasized, belongs to information technology, saying what was unimaginable 20 years ago is today a reality. This, he said, informed his administration's numerous policy decisions and substantial investments in the critical economic sector. As the president explains, the intention is to ensure that the benefits of what he called technology-driven age is felt by all the nearly 200 million Nigerians.
Indeed, our strategy for inclusive economic growth can only be achieved by leveraging the technology tools available to us. Already, we have seen the benefits of using technological tools to fight corruption and reduce leakages and inefficiencies in public service to ensure the benefits of this tool is realized and at the same time its threats are eliminated.
On the visit include the Computing and Information Technology Professionals and Community in Nigeria, the Computer Professionals Registration Council of Nigeria, and the Nigeria Computer Society. Professor Charles Uwadia, who spoke on their behalf, appreciated President Buhari for his commitment to the improvement of the lives of the people through information, communication technology, and digital economy.
Your Excellency, we the IT professionals commend you for the immense and giant strides that your administration has made and is still making in nation building. Within the space of the past 4 years, you have achieved a lot, deepening IT in Nigeria due to the realization that ICT is a tool for empowerment of Nigerians and eradicating poverty. I wish to assure His Excellency that relevant agencies such as NIDA, NOTAP, BPE, and other professionals in the IT sector will continue to cooperate and collaborate with one another to move our dear nation to the next level.
He enumerated the effective implementation of the Treasury Single Account, increasing government revenue by over 3 trillion naira, entrenching transparency and accountability, diversifying the economy, as well as ensuring security and fighting corruption, leveraging on the enabling power of the ICT as some of the notable achievements recorded by government. While making a case for an import tax on all software imported into Nigeria to fund local software development activities, the IT professionals formally invited President Muhammadu Buhari to be the Chief Marketing Officer for Made in Nigeria software. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And we turn our attention to security matters, and Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong has visited the area of attack in Kambun village of Mangu local government area to commiserate with the people over the gunman attack, promising that security agencies are on top of the situation to fish out the attackers. Priscilla Gurumnam reports.
On receiving the news of the attack, Governor Lalong, in company of the Deputy Governor Professor Sonny Tioden and the STF Commander Major General Augustine Agundu, shelved other state engagements to visit the community where the attack took place. The governor, who expressed sadness at the unfortunate incident, said the attack is coming when the state is enjoying substantial peace and assured the people that security agencies are already working to track those behind the dastardly act. He appealed for calm from the people and pleaded with them against any reprisal attacks.
I come here first to commiserate with you, those who lost your loved ones. We are already here. That means the security is here. They will remain here. And as we go back, we will continue to find out the reasons and those who are responsible. You know, we don't joke with them. If we catch you irresponsible, we keep you where you are.
Commander Operation Safe Haven Major General Augustine Agundu, who confirmed the number of casualties, said 7 suspects have so far been arrested and are undergoing interrogation. District head of Kombung village, Da Audu Tetmut, and representative of the Fulani, Ya'u Yusuf, said the community is in a state of grief and appealed for adequate security. The governor promised to ensure victims on admission at the hospitals receive adequate medical attention. Governor Lalong had earlier paid condolence visit on the Mishkan Mogavul, Danielson Bakfur, where he appealed to the paramount ruler to ensure peace in his domain. From Mangu, local government area, Priscilla Grumnan, NTA News.
And meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari strongly condemned the gunman attack on Mangu local government in Plateau State and is in contact with the governor, Simon Lalong, and military, police and other security agencies in the state to ascertain details of what happened and what can be done to forestall a future occurrence. President Buhari said he is shocked and grieved by the incident and has urged security agencies in the state to increase vigilance to stop further attack on innocent communities.
And from the southwest comes this report that the long-anticipated Western Nigeria Security Network, codenamed Operation Amotekun, has been inaugurated in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. It's aimed at providing adequate security for the region as a complement to the statutory security provided by Nigerian security agencies. Here is correspondent Ayomiku Ajibola with the rest of the story.
With 120 branded operation vehicles, 20 vans from each state of the 6 southwest states, the Western Nigerian Security Network, Amotekun, an encompassing security architect initiated by the 6 southwest governors, is expected to curtail kidnappings and killings in the region.
Our contribution at the regional level will serve as effective complement to security architecture that may be put in place by the federal government.
Amotekun is a complement that gives our people confidence that they are being looked after.
We are coming together to fight a common enemy. The enemies are the elements among us and their affiliates who are determined to cause commotion within the borders of our state and threaten our peaceful coexistence.
With personnel made up of local hunters, members of vigilante groups, men of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and Oodua People's Congress, OPC, Amotekun was the outcome of security summit organized by Dawn Communication in Ibadan 6 months ago. In Ibadan, Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
And you're watching the news at 10 on the network service of the NTA, and we're broadcasting live from Abuja. We have more reports ahead, including
Federal government directs National Broadcasting Commission to begin implementation of committee's report on industrial reforms immediately. Details presently.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms.
Start Times, Channel 101, Freak TV, Channel 703, GSTV, Channel 419, and Go TV, Channel 46.
For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Twitter at NTA News 24, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24,
news and more news.
Glad to have you back with us. Now, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 2, Ahmed Liasu, has challenged the police, relevant stakeholders, to bridge the gap and work towards adequate security of lives and property of Nigerians.
The AIG gave the charge during his visit to Ogun State Command of the Nigerian Police in Abeokuta. Lekan Agbende reports that the police chief visited the state governor, Dakbo Abiodun, and the Alake of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Gbadebo.
The Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 2, Ahmed Ilyasu, was like a homecoming after he had served as Commissioner of Police in the state for 4 years.
Policing has now moved to community policing and community engagement. I'm here to interface with my men and make them know the change in ethos, custom, and values of policing in line with 21st century policing best practices.
This administration will give all the required support to ensure that all these laudable initiatives of the Nigerian Police Force, ably led by the Inspector General of Police, are successful.
The AIG also visited the palace of Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Gbadebo, who harped on the need for Nigerians to see security of lives and property as a collective responsibility. Addressing officers and men of the State Police Command and other stakeholders shortly after, AIG Ilyasu said the vision and mission of the Nigerian police under the current IG remained to further promote effective policing and enhance internal security through community policing model. In Abeokuta, Lekan Agbonde, NTA News.
Now, the Buhari Media Organization has rejected and showed concern over a statement by a South African military contractor on fighting insurgency in the northeast. The media organization in a statement says Colonel Ibn Balo, a military hardware contractor, may be deeply frustrated and profoundly displeased because the multi-million-dollar security contract awarded to his company by a previous administration to provide machinery to fight Boko Haram was terminated by the Buhari administration on assumption office. BMO argued that these guns-for-hire elements can never erase the huge strides made by Nigerian security services in the consistently defeating the insurgents in scores of battles and freeing thousands of Nigerians held by the insurgents and protecting the territorial integrity of the country.
And in its efforts to tackle security threats in the nation's maritime domain, the Nigerian Navy has rescued 3 oil expatriates abducted by sea pirates on January the 2nd this year. Now, the flag officer commanding Central Naval Command, Rear Admiral Saidu Garba, announced this to newsmen in Warri, Delta State, noting that the criminals attacked the vessel conveying the expatriates in the Niger Delta region, leading to the death of some naval personnel and assailants. Following intelligence reports, the Nigerian Navy, in a rapid combined counter-operation in collaboration with land and sea components, as well as other security agencies, commenced racking of the area.
At about 22:30 on 7th January 2020, in a surgical operation, the Nigerian Navy team rescued all abducted expatriates comprising 2 Russians and 1 Indian. Also, one of the assailants was apprehended with his weapon and the boat that was used to convey the victims, while other members of the group fled into a nearby creek with bullet injuries. I wish to use this opportunity to warn all criminals operating in the Niger Delta that the Nigerian Navy is poised to rid the region of all forms of illegality. I will not relent until the perpetrators of this dastardly act are brought to book.
And more on security, men of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Kogi State Command, have apprehended 30 trucks conveying coal illegally mined in Ankpa local government area of the state.
Now, Jibola Kreistova reports that the state commandant of the Corps says the illegal miners will be prosecuted.
The 30 trucks conveying coal from Ankpa local government were intercepted by the men of the Corps at Ganajas Junction in Lokoja. Speaking to newsmen, the commandant of the Corps, Kogi State Command, Peter Samuel Megiri, says since 2007, the illegal miners have refused to pay royalties to the federal government, hence the impoundment and arrest of the trucks.
Based on a directive from the Office of the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, giving the Corps the opportunity to arrest all these trucks, so that because they have failed to pay royalty, that is the company that own them, have failed to pay royalty to government, and therefore the government is asking us to recover the royalty for them.
The commandant noted that the enforcement continues and encouraged the host communities to report activities of illegal miners with a view to bringing sanity to the sector. He emphasized that those arrested will be charged to court in Lokoja. Ajibola Christopher, NTA News.
And to information matters now, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has directed the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, to immediately implement measures aimed at repositioning the broadcast industry with a view to bringing sanity to the sector.
Now, this was contained in a statement by the Information and Culture Minister signed by his Special Assistant on Media, Segun Adeyemi.
The minister said the directive has become necessary following the submission of the report of the committee which was set up to work at modalities for implementing the recommendations approved by President Muhammadu Buhari to reposition the broadcast industry in Nigeria. This move, Lai Mohammed explained, is necessitated by the satisfactory report of the committee, which was very professional and detailed. Hence, the directive to the Commission to take necessary measures to effect the implementation of the various provisions contained therein. This directive covers the provision for the regulation of the web and online television and radio, regulation of international broadcasters beaming signals into Nigeria, hate speech, human resources, and staff welfare, funding for the reforms implementation, monitoring, independence of the regulator, and ease of issuing licenses, as well as competition and monopoly issues, new regulations to compel broadcasters to utilize the content and services of Nigerian independent producers in fulfillment of the regulatory requirements for 70% local content, rather than current abuse of the rules, which allow many loopholes for the production of such content in jurisdictions outside Nigeria. This, the minister upheld, will empower local producers with proper funding and investment, enhance foreign collaboration, develop the local industry, raise the standard of local productions, and ultimately lead to job creation. The new regulations will also ensure that content producers are paid promptly for adverts and sponsored content placed on all TV, radio, and broadcast platforms. The rule is to also ensure that production of adverts are localized to create and promote local production, and where it is not, it will attract charges every time such an advert is aired, with the charge being put into fund to help develop local expertise in production. For musical content, the new regulation will ensure that broadcasters are prevented from illegal and unpaid use of musical works without payment of the applicable license fees and or royalties required by musical right owners. Similar provision will prohibit exclusivity of sporting rights in Nigeria, as a new regulation now mandates broadcasters and exclusive licensees to share such rights with other broadcasters to boost reach and also maximize utilization by all broadcasters of premium content in order to grow their platforms and investment in other content. This regulation prevents the misuse of monopoly by a foreign or local broadcaster to suppress other local broadcasters in the television and radio markets, having removed exclusivity from all content in Nigeria and mandated the sharing of all content upon payment of commercially viable fees, the statement maintained. expressing confidence that the new regulations, which are due to come into effect this month, will re-energize the broadcast industry, deliver real value in the sector, and grow the creative industry for the benefit of all practitioners.
Now, Nigeria is benefiting immensely from the activities of the Niger Basin Authority. Now, this was disclosed by the Ministry of Water Resources at a workshop for revitalizing the River Basin Authority network of journalists and communicators in Nigeria. Austin Ayabe reports.
Water is a great resource to humanity and even serve people better if the resources therein are properly managed and harnessed for development. This is what informed the establishment of the Niger Basin Authority by 9 countries in West Africa who share common water boundaries, of which Nigeria is one. The national focus sponsor of the workshop, Mrs. Alice Ojowu, who spoke on behalf of the Minister of Water Resources, said Nigeria has benefited in the area of rehabilitation of the Kainji and Jeba dams from the Niger Basin Authority. She mentioned that through the Niger Basin Authority, Nigeria has been able to step up effort in data collection for flood management and enjoin journalists to educate Nigerians about the positive impacts of the Basin Authority on the nation's development.
We've got the intervention to rehabilitate Kainji and Jeba dams in Nigeria. Through that intervention, we've been able to add about 340 megawatts to the national grid.
To sustainably manage the water resources within the territories of member countries and preserve the ecosystem, the capacity of journalists needs to be built.
We can count on his support to enhance NBA's performance and realize our common development ideals for the benefit of the 160 million people living in the Niger Basin.
Issues like flood, water pollution, deforestation, and desertification are areas journalists are expected to educate and enlighten the people on. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
All right, you still watch of the news at 10 here on NTA News 24. More reports ahead include foreign and sports. Stay with us.